Well, it's time to bring it on with the email questions that you've sent in. And Pat, this first one comes from Kim, who says, my husband and I have been assigned as leaders in our church. As a leader and pulpit aide, we are each required to put our pastor's things in his car, heat up his car, wash his towels, cups, and buy things with our own money to put into his refrigerator. If we don't do these things, we are reprimanded for not being in line. I know this is not biblical, but we need God to release us. How do we know if and when God is releasing us, and what do we do until we're released to leave?
That's cultish, what's going on there. We're not supposed to be slaves. You know, there was something called shepherding that was real powerful, and I stood against it as strong as I could, and the Lord brought that thing down. It was just terrible, but again, the shepherd was in charge, and you know, people had their wives whipped. I mean, it was just unbelievable, some of the stuff that went on. And so I don't believe that sort of thing. I believe the pastor's supposed to be a shepherd and a servant. And the leader is a servant. Yeah. And that, I believe if you want to be a leader, we are to serve. And my role is a servant, not as some exalted priest with people doing things for me.
So if it's unbiblical, would you consider them released?
Just get out of this stinking church. Come on. I mean, why do you have to have, what kind of a sign from heaven? Do you want an angel to come down and tell you this is wrong? I mean, you got, the Lord gave you a mind, use it and get out. All right?
This is Tabitha, who says, I know we're all children of God, but do we have to actively go to church, or does it matter if we just pray and talk to God at home?
Bible says, do not forsake the assembling of yourselves together as some do. We need to come together. There's something about united worship. Because we have here on this program, we have united worship 5 days a week. You know, we worship together. And I think you need to have that, but the idea of solitary Christianity is really not what the Bible teaches. All right?
This is Fred, who says, Dear Pat, I have a problem accepting Paul's teaching about submitting to governing authorities. If a governing official makes decisions that we feel are unconstitutional, why should we submit to an authority who governs against the will of the people? If the original American patriots submitted to the laws of England, we wouldn't be Americans today.
That is kind of giving you license to do whatever you want to do. You remember when Paul said, to submit to rulers. He was talking about an emperor, and those emperors were mean, vicious, tyrannical. What we have in this country is so benign compared to what they had in Rome, and yet he told the people to obey the law. He said that, you know, the authorities are set by God, and but nevertheless, we believed in the American Revolution that we had a right to revolt against tyranny. And the Apostle Peter said it when he came before the council in Jerusalem. He said, whether it's right to obey God or to obey men, you've got to decide. But as for us, we can only speak the things we've seen and heard. So when the government begins to restrict your freedom to witness and speak up about Jesus, they have exceeded their authority, and you don't have to obey them. All right.
This is Maria, Pat, who says, hi, I want to know, when we die, are we dead right away, or do we get to see the people who are around us? Once we're dead, do we get to attend our funeral? If we don't, what's the point of having a celebration of our lives, and why spend so much money if we can't even attend?
You know, Jerry Falwell was a joker. He was a real funny guy.
He was very funny.
And I went to his funeral service, and the man who was preaching said, now, Jerry said, if anybody who's preaching my funeral service goes longer than 60 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever, he said, I'm going to get up out of the casket and walk out.
I'm leaving this event.
So anyhow, I've heard people who died and their spirit was still around.
For a time, just...
Yeah, I think the Jewish thought was that after 3 or 4 days, the spirit left, but until that time, the spirit hung around. I don't know. I really don't know, and I don't know we have biblical authority for any of it. All right.
This is Bruce, who says, if I currently have Obamacare health insurance and it's repealed by the next president in Congress, how would I be able to get regular insurance again? I have a pre-existing condition.
Look, the Republicans are working on an alternative plan, but they've got to have a plan that, you know, you don't take support away from somebody on the one hand and not give him something
an alternative.
Alternative. They are working on a private program that works across state lines, is portable, and all the rest of it. There's got to be an alternative. If it's not, it'll lead to great hardship. Obamacare has been a terrible thing. It has caused disruption in the healthcare industry. It has caused a number of companies to go out of business. It's been an iniquitous mess, and it's cost almost everybody. It's cost more money than less money. And the president lied. If you like your health care, you can keep it. Not so. If you like your doctor, you can keep them. Not so. You're going to spend less than you are now? No way. It was all lies. Lies, one after the other. So it will be repealed, assuming there's another president and the Congress stays the same. But they must put in effect an alternative program. And I think the Republicans are planning on just doing just that. All right.
That's all the time we have for today, but we love hearing from you, so thank you for your questions.